Greetings, everyone. Tommy Hawksblood here, calling from the big island of Hawaii. Today is Saturday. Yesterday was Good Friday, and tomorrow is Easter. Now, if you're a real religious person and don't want to know anything other than your programmed truth, please don't listen, because it'll only make you mad. If you care and want to understand a little more truth about what really went down in life history, please stay around and listen. I'm going to go into the truth that I could give to you based on all my past lives and my experiences now about Jesus, religion, and everything in between that. But let's start with yesterday. You know, it was called Good Friday. There's explanations online about what Good Friday is. Check it out. See what they tell you it is. It's a good day. It's a good day because somebody sacrificed themselves for you. It's a great thought. But that's man's ego and the way they live life, which I'm going to be getting to all through the talk today. Man is pretty sick, and they have been for a very long time, going back as far as you want. The first true religion on this planet, first spiritual path, I should say, rather than religion, was back in Atlantis, and they didn't call it a religion. They called it a way of life. And the reason why it was probably actually called today, if anybody was able to see it, they would call it the Golden Age. It was the only time that peace on planet Earth existed, and there was no killing and all those other words that go along with it. Many things came and went. I'm not saying there was no murders and killers and all kinds of things before that. When the human race was brought here and put in Atlantis, basically there were 9 races. Now there's only 4. But they were all spiritual for a word. And we'll get into that because everybody thinks they're spiritual. Whatever they do, wherever they go, they claim they're spiritual. But Good Friday, imagine that. Well, it's good that he gave himself for us. No, nobody does that. He couldn't have done it in the first place, and he knew that. Karma was really brought out through Buddha. And the teachings of karma you should know and understand because it's real. I'm not saying every religion's right, has a lot of the truth. Most do not. But what he said about karma is dead set right. All right? Meaning what you do in this life is called karma. And there's good and bad karma. Meaning you can do good things and you can do bad things. It's your choice. You always have a choice, people. No matter what you believe, what you say, what you think, oh, you had to. No, you never have to do anything. And the most hardest thing would be to step back and let it just perish, or you perish, which most people didn't do. Even Jesus' disciples decided they couldn't give their lives for Jesus. And they all walked away from it. But the truth is, if you follow something, and you claim you're following it, you need to abide by your laws of what you follow, no matter what path, what religion, whatever it is. Now, obviously, man made them all. And man puts his ego into whatever he does. I'm doing a book on ego for women, of men. But basically, from the end of destruction of Atlantis, mankind was programmed. Don't believe any of this, but they were. To kill, torture, sacrifice, and things like that. All right, we didn't do that before. Before Atlantis was destroyed, we didn't eat animals, we didn't kill each other, you couldn't lie, cheat, steal. So it was the Garden of Eden. We weren't about, oh, well, let's do this, let's get some drugs, let's do this. It wasn't like that at all. You couldn't lie, you couldn't cheat, you didn't even have to talk. But it was beautiful. We didn't have to wear special clothes, we didn't have to buy special weapons, tools, and everything else under the sun. We weren't involved with making toys, which is all man does now. All right. So Good Friday is a man-made idea to protect himself in his own ego. Oh, God gave himself for us. If you want to believe it, you do. All right. If you read it over and over, you might believe it. All right. Uh, Jesus' teachings were never understood. We're going to get into this today. All right. What was Jesus really teaching? Why was he killed? If I asked 2.5 billion people, which is the amount of Christians on the planet, what was God truly teaching, I would be totally amazed, seriously, if 10 people knew in that religion. All right. I could say probably more people outside of Ekankar and all these other known religions, Buddhism, shamanism, and every other word you can think of, Muslims, and all these different paths. Who knows what really went down? Really, what was he really teaching? All right, now writings have been not not in the oldest days. There was no writings, and drawing wasn't even there in the beginning. Why did we draw? To leave images for other people. All right, if you were living in the now in oneness, which everybody claims now, you're not worrying about the future of people looking at you because nobody knows what went down in Atlantis, really. Except that it disappeared is basically all they know. They don't know exactly where it was or is. Atlantean people were mixed color. There were 9 different color beings, but they were all human. 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, 2 hands, 2 feet. The whole concept of that, of what a human is supposed to be or what we want it to be. All right. But 5 races attained awareness. And the word that I would use, which is used wrongly today, is called ascension. Now, David Wilcock's online right now talking about ascension. Well, this morning he was. He has no clue what it means, thinks he went through it. When he came out to the public, when he first came out, he said he was God. People, we can say a lot of things. We can believe a lot of things, and then we realize this ain't true or that's true. But then again, how do you learn what's true and what's not? And the idea of what's right and wrong, whether you're real, right, or crazy. Crazy, I mean, sure, there's people way beyond understanding, but most people are considered crazy because they don't agree with the laws and the way reality is. Because it's wrong. All right. So, okay, if these 10 people knew what Jesus was teaching, what were they doing? Where did they go with that knowledge? Well, all Jesus' disciples were killed except 2 people. And Mary Magdalene was his disciple, was his wife. Don't believe it. That's your choice. I'm giving you the truth. All right. She had to continue teaching the disciples after they killed Jesus. How can somebody teach something that they don't know? Now, Jesus, what was he teaching? Mankind at that time frame, you have to think where they were, what they did, and things like that. What kind of schooling they had, what did they believe? The Catholic churches and the rabbis, whatever they call it, all the different names for them, priests, and all the words they created along through time. Where did they get their truth from? I'm going to tell you, their ego. Going back as far as you want, after Atlantis was destroyed, man's ego started growing. And it was implanted with a growth hormone, I would say, DNA of aliens. It sounds crazy, but think about it. If we weren't killers, why would suddenly we become killers? Eat animals when we never did. Why would we cheat, lie, steal, and things like that when we never did? And it doesn't instantly happen. But if you look at history and stuff, it bypasses all that. They have no clue what went down. Like I said, they have no clue where Atlantis really was, what really went down there. And then when Socrates came out and talked about Atlantis, what did that mean to people? Where did he get his knowledge? From a couple words that were out there about it. He didn't know much about it. Nobody did. So it's one civilization that came and disappeared, just like the Egyptians, the Mayans, the Aztecs. But there's a big difference between all of them. In Atlantis, they followed one god. Now, the Egyptians, the Mayans, and all of those kind of tribal people followed, for a word, aliens, assuming they'd be accepted as what? There wasn't a word God, people. It was deities in Hinduism in the beginning, the first recognized religion on the planet. Uh, but what was a deity? I call them little gods. They were real, seriously. They never claimed to be God. We gave them that title. We give everything that has superpower a title God, which is falsely given to people, entities, beings, you name it. Aliens are definitely not gods. The Egyptians worked hand in hand with certain races. If you know anything, or you should, about reincarnation, you would understand how it works and what it means and everything else about it. But since the Egyptians were being taught by aliens, their whole teaching is a lie. If you look at all the hieroglyphics about reincarnation, what they did to everybody during it when they were going to die and whatever, all the things they did to come back and all that were all false. None of it was beneficial, none of it was really important, and none of it was right. So when they all got taken out, which I'll use, just as the Aztecs taken out, Mayans taken out, I mean, there's a couple of the native tribes taken out, never mind all the native people in the United States, 50 million native people taken out. They all had teachings, but very few of them, or none of them, had any teachings of a real God. Multiple gods means it's not God. Multiple gods means all the deities and aliens that posed as powerful beings, which they were to people that had no abilities. Now, in Atlantis, every person that was alive in Atlantis had 32 psychic abilities, which you get when you go through ascension. Jesus did it. Mary Magdalene did it. Nobody else ever did. Prove it. How can I prove that? It doesn't have to be proven because right now there's nobody on this planet that can make a dead person rise and heal these things and do all these things that they say they are. I'm not talking about psychic healers because they're false as well. They're not real powerful beings. Not one of them can levitate a car or any of those abilities. All right. Well, I just want to cut that short, but just realize when they talk about gods, they're talking about aliens or deities. But deities stopped working with humans a long time ago. You can work with them, but they don't work in this reality or this world, whatever you assume where you're living is called Earth. All right. This whole universe, galaxy, is only one plane of existence. There's, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth dimensions. No, there's 12. All right. Now, the basic ones, there's 9, 3, 6, 9, which means the first plane where we are, called Earth, the physical plane. In each dimension is 3 realities. I'm not talking about learning when you draw a first dimensional, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. I'm talking about the actual dimensions. Inside those dimensions are realities, but they are all still part of the first reality that we dwell in. Scientists will never figure this out. They're still talking about going through a dimension, like they're going to get from this to the next dimension. They're still only here. They're not going into any higher realms of God by any aspect of it. They're not going any further than the astral plane, which is definitely better than here, because guess what? You don't have a physical body no more. And as long as you have a physical body, you're attached, and you can't use the word spiritual because you are not. I'm going to get into that. I hope you're following. If not, I don't know what to say. I can only give you what I know and try to give you. Most people run from the truth, which is fine. I don't expect anybody to listen to the truth about Jesus. They don't want to hear it. Okay. Now, let me I'm just trying things I want to talk about. Okay, psychic healers. All right, what happens when you come out of your body? Do you know what I'm talking about? Not astral projection is one aspect of it. I'm not talking about remote viewing because that's one of the most evil things on our planet. Seriously. George Washington could do it. I could prove that too. But again, it's an invasion of space, which nobody has the right to do. But they do it. Aliens do it. Aliens are never going to be better than us, ever. Technology and science is not going to make anybody become more spiritual or more aware, more understanding and aware of what God really is. Never. Not in hell. Oh, hell, we are in hell. You don't go to a bad place when you die from here. That's what reincarnation is. You come back. Dante's Inferno with the levels of hell and things. Everything he mentioned you can experience in this physical reality. All right? If you ever read Dante's Inferno and his classifications of how bad you are, how bad you burn in hell, and different things you go through, frozen and things. Soul can't be frozen. Soul can't be burnt. Soul can't be cut in half or any of those words. So once you step out of this physical body, you're no longer destructible. Jesus was teaching all about that, whether you want to hear that, because these people aren't ready to hear that. Most people aren't. When you leave your body, if you have a death experience, it's a slight awareness of that. And very few people take that further than what they think they want it to be. Oh, I met Jesus, I met God, I met my mother, I met my father. They don't really want to know what happens because the mind can't translate it. The mind can't translate something it doesn't know. So the government's calling everything they see, which they do know what it is, a phenomena. Unidentified aerial phenomena, meaning nobody knows what it really is. Oh, a UFO with an alien in it is exactly that. It's not phenomena. And all the UFO people accepting that should be taken out of the classification as UFO expert, right? Because they have no clue what they're talking about. Phenomena is a different level of awareness, different level of things happening. Now, I'm going to say this, not that I have to or need to, but I was a high priest when I was 16. I was into the psychic abilities. There's 32 psychic abilities to retain awareness. Right? I was working on many of them. But in this reality, they cannot help mankind. Not no more. If a person was working from God level of awareness, he could use it wisely. But since nobody even knows what God is, how can they use it wisely? I mean, people that claim to be super psychic and all those words, they say, go to a casino and pick the next number that's coming out, put all your money on it, and then do the same time over and over and take all the money from the casino and walk away. Nobody can do that. If you're psychic and claim you're psychic, you only have to read 1 minute into the future and you can change the reality of the whole universe. Seriously. 1 minute. Never mind, I can see what's going to happen 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I dealt with just about every real big name psychic in the United States anyway. A few out of the country. But what they claim, what they say, and all these things. Oh, I can do this and I can do that. No, they can't. Even in the UFO world, Caroline Corey says she can levitate a piece of paper and she can change DNA. Well, DNA is not really important at any level unless it's on a crime scene. It's not going to make you a better person, people, because your body is not you. All right? Your mind is a program that soul has to use while it's in the body. If you get in a car, you can't take the battery out and drive around, can you? No, you can't. The brain is what controls the body. It doesn't control soul, which is what you are. So when you step in the body, one of the hardest things to learn, which you usually don't learn in many lifetimes, is how to separate the two. Now, with the new age generation, started what? 52, 62, 72, 80s, 90s, and from there on, about universal consciousness. Well, I'm totally against the word You can believe it or not. You can believe Buddhist teachings and all these New Age people. Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle, what they explain, they have no clue. They cannot talk about God. They sure cannot talk about Jesus. And they sure cannot talk about soul. The only thing they can do is talk about the conditioning of the brain. The brain can do many things in this reality, but it can't just step into the next reality. It cannot. The vibrations, the energy, the magnetic field, the cells, the protons, neutrons, electrons, all of it exists in this reality only. Scientists will never figure that out. Not in the time frame the world has left. And just so you know, we have about 7 years max to get your act together, because half of the world will probably be less populated by half. It's not my doing. I wouldn't have allowed it. But then again, I don't want to control anything. It's up to spirit. Now, you think God cares about what you do? Do you really? You're in hell. What can you do that's good? Nobody can do anything good. Oh, well, I crushed a person across the street. I picked somebody that fell down. I gave money to a person starving. Yeah, and then what happens tomorrow, the next day, and the day after that? Children are being sold as children for $50,000 and more. Homeless children. Try to adopt one. Of course, somebody makes money on children, no matter what they do to them, which is incredibly horrible, dangerous, and sick, and perverted, and twisted. All right? So, when we talk about spirit, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, the Trinity, do you even know what that means? I'm sure you don't. But again, are we all one with Jesus? No, we're not. Are we a part of Jesus? Yes, we are. Sorry, I meant God. All right. But, it's like saying to a caterpillar, you're a giant creature from somewhere. Doesn't mean anything, they can't understand it. Tell them they're God. They still don't understand it. So in a body with a dumb brain, which is pretty limited, doesn't understand much at all. And I'm going into this for a reason. All right. Now, so when Jesus was born, Mary Magdalene gave birth to a child. She had children. She had 3, 4. I don't know this other sisters. I wasn't following him. I mean, I followed Jesus when he was a little older. Right? I was aware of my lifetime then. I was a female. But I was a goddess like Mary Magdalene, all right, was. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was not. Now, the temple goddesses in that time frame were allowed to have sex with whoever they wanted, do whatever they wanted, because they had the money. Money controlled basically everything. All right, but Mary Magdalene was where Jesus decided to hang, and he hung there for a reason, because she went to ascension, and she became his co-partner, wife. All right, in that time frame, Jesus was trying to teach his 12 disciples? He had 13. 12 disciples? What? To love each other? He spent his short life, teaching men how to love women? Do you believe that? Christians do. He taught love. Love didn't exist before Jesus came to this planet. Do you understand that? Go through any old ancient books and stuff that wasn't rewritten when they came out. They never used the word love unless it was written by somebody in a newer time frame. Love came into existence 2,000 years ago. Women were never important, accepted, and loved. Yeah, some owners had compassion for their wives. Don't pick up that heavy load, I'll pick it up for you. It's just too heavy for you. But pick those 10 up, move those 10 things over there, do this, do that. It was always about slavery, people, not just black people. All right? They were always slaves. From the time Atlantis was destroyed, women were victims to their co-op, whatever words you want to use, partner, boyfriend, lover. Not that they loved each other. They were sexually wanted for sex and slavery, not because they loved them. All right, the Ten Commandments doesn't use the word love. When Moses created 63 more laws, he didn't use the word love. Everything was about sex and nudity. He was really, if you want to know a word, perverted, black magician. All right, I'm not going to get into that in detail. But nothing good ever came out of it. Walking, I don't want to go into his story. It's partially true if you watch the movie. Why he wasn't allowed. They don't say why he wasn't allowed into the promised land. If you know his story, you would. And I don't think too many Christians even know why he wasn't allowed. Oh, he did this or he did that. No, that's not what it was. But again, a different story, different time. All right. Now, I'm going to be doing a couple of shows as often as I can. And I'm on YouTube under Rev.Hawksblood. Friend me if you can. All right. And you'll get to see my shows that I do. I do a UFO show every Tuesday with a co-host from England. He's one of the top experiencer abductees that truly went through the experience many times. All right. Another story, another time. All right. Let's go a little bit further. Now, getting back to what do you think Jesus was really teaching his disciples? Oh, love her. She's beautiful. She's pretty. She's going to be nice to you if you love her. What do you think? How did he teach people love people? How do you teach anybody love? The only way you teach love is by action. Not by teaching, by showing and observing. The same way you learn everything else that's bad. So now, being a person called Jesus walking through towns, why do you think people would hate him? Why would anybody hate somebody that was helping people survive? Ask our government. All right, but why? Why do you think he became such a high terror to the religious government at that time frame? Well, and then you were forced upon what you read in Christianity about sins, S-I-N-S. All right, what is a sin? It's something that's not right, something that's bad, or that you're told is bad. Does man know the difference between right and wrong? I say there's one way to do it, another way to do it, and another way to do it. One's a little better than the next way, and one's better than that. So whatever it is, if you do it the best way, you're not creating karma. You're doing it the worst way, you are creating karma. So until you can define each one of them when you're doing any action, you still don't know if you're creating karma or not. All right. Now, I'm going to say a bunch of things that Jesus actually said. Not that the Bible has a clue to what went down. Because Jesus did not come here to free you from your sins. I'll prove it to you, but we'll get to that later. Jesus came for a reason, which was his ultimate reason for being here. Now, look at it in a greater way. Jesus never said he was God. Never. All right? And then again, if God wanted something to be done directly, it would do it. It doesn't need anybody else doing his dirty work if he wants it done. But he created many things to allow what he feels is right for that level of awareness. Earth meaning hell, Satan meaning the controller. Not Lucifer, Satan. And you got people taking Lucifer, making him into the worst demon and everything else because people don't understand or experience the truth. The truth is out there. In religion, no. In spiritualism, no. Inside yourself. Nobody's going to give it to you. I can give you ways to find it. I can give you ideas about it. But you're still going to have to prove it to yourself. Because you read something 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times. If it was written 1,000,000 times, doesn't make it right or real. People like Zechariah Sitchin took ancient tablets of Samaria and things like that, and rewrote it to make ridiculous stories. And half of the UFO world believe it, and people believe it, and he believed it. But they had no experience, any real experiences. When I say you have to have your own experiences, you have to experience being outside the physical body. First experience you really need to have. Then, the only other thing you really have to learn how to do is understand your past lives. Because if you can do that, you can learn and understand about karma that you have to pay back. And we all created it, or we would not be here. And you did it over, and you went through your life, didn't do anything, and created more karma. So all that means is more reincarnations. Christianity doesn't want to even believe in reincarnation. They want to believe Jesus came here, took their sins away, and they're all going to heaven. Now, ask them about heaven. What were you going to really be doing when you're up there? Sitting there talking to anybody else that died in your family? At a table? And what are you going to talk about? How it was nice on hell? How nice it's good to be here? I'll explain things about that later, about the astral plane, but not right now. All right. Jesus was dealing with people, fishermen, farmers, horseshoers, and things like that, shoemakers, and all these trivial, well, they were important jobs at that time, because it was like one man in the town would be doing those kind of things. But did they lead to any kind of spiritual awareness? Anything anybody did. Even when Jesus was killed, everything about that became an idea of power, which countries fought over. All right, everything from the Ark of the Covenant to the goblet that they used at the dinner table, to let's see, the Ark of the Covenant, and all these words. Moses' tablets. There was 10 in there. He got rid of a lot of the other ones, but again, he created more laws, but he didn't make them into tablets. Why not? So, and he wrote them. People, he carved it. God didn't shoot sparks into a rock and create the Ten Commandments. It doesn't talk to us. There's no reason for God to talk to the lowest life in the multi-universe. Now, God did create things to help us get out of the lower realms. The highest of those things are called deities. Hinduism has about 130. But I will tell you this, it's just like angels. In the Bible, only 9 angels are mentioned. And to this day, 90% of the people on the planet call upon 2 angels, Gabriel and Michael. Why? What's wrong with all the other ones? Because everybody talks about this one, well, let's go on that one. Well, let's talk about them. Let's go about him. Do you think they got nothing else to do than play with your silly little thoughts that move nowhere, that do nothing? Angels come here, Gabriel, Michael, to give an action to stop something from happening. Like Noah and the Ark. All right. Sodom and Gomorrah. They were given a simple thing or complicated thing to stop something from happening. If they didn't listen, either one of them, the world would be so different right now, if it would be even here. But again, people, angels aren't teachers. They don't sit on the ground in a park and say, everybody come to me, I'll teach you what? How to love each other? No. How to get forgiven for your sins? No. There's only one way you can be forgiven for your sins, and that's through reincarnation. All right, but while you're here, you usually create more than you get rid of. Less action is probably better than more action, unless the more action is dedicated and directly coming from your awareness of a connection to God. And people say, I'm connected to God. That's why I'm going to spend money on these chickens in the yard, or the roosters down the road, or dogs in the park, whatever. But we're not here for any of that. Do you understand why we're here? No, you don't. If I ask the whole planet, why are they here? What do you think they're going to say? Well, there's 8 billion people, 8 billion answers. But they're all going to ring through the same limited awareness. 1 second, sorry. All right, one limited idea. Oh, we each got our programmed idea. When you're born, your brain has no wrinkles in it. Everything you learn and thing you learn becomes like a wrinkle inside your brain. All right. So you're basically a computer chip or a memory card that's being filled with information. And that's where all your information comes from. But if you start becoming aware, you go outside that chip. You go into being soul and go back into your past lives. You don't have these multiple lifetimes for no reason. They are beneficial. They do help you if you become aware of them. How many people do? If you don't believe it exists, you don't even try to find out what it is. Christianity, you have to think how it was created, what happened, where it went, how it came from here to there, and what went down. The people in Christianity controlled everything. When they killed Jesus, they didn't lose control of anything. They just killed Jesus' disciples. Now, Mary Magdalene and Thomas both left the country. I'll get into Mary Magdalene a little bit later. I don't have long to do this. I'm trying to keep you. I usually go around 50 million circles. I don't want to put you in too much delusional ideas. I'm going to try to keep you focused a little. What did Jesus teach? All right. I don't want to give it away easy because he gave it to people and they didn't listen. 2,000 years later, nobody here knows what he even said. Because who wrote it in the Bible? Now, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, only 2 of them were disciples. 2 of them were evangelists. And those 2, one followed Peter and one followed Paul. Paul never met Jesus in the physical body. His teachings came from, guess what? Inner abilities. Through visions. Now, if I told you all my visions, you would say, oh, they're all stupid, dumb, ridiculous, not real. But everybody accepted his. Especially the evangelist that was writing everything that he said and making a copy of it. So when you read Revelations, I'm sorry, I'm getting back to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you'll see plagiarism on both parts of them. Because when Jesus stood before Satan, he told the story once. All right. Now, and you wouldn't see that written 10 different places, 100 different places, with the exact same words all the way through. Nobody was taking shorthand at that time frame. Nobody was that gifted or aware, or whatever words you want to use for that ability. So when you hear words, well, Peter wrote this, Paul wrote this. I mean, even Mary Magdalene wrote a manuscript. Everybody, Judas's manuscript, and that became twisted because of Billy Myers, the UFO guy, who said he found Judas's manuscripts, which he really didn't. And he put out a book called The Talmud and Jamad, but it's making Judas the one telling a story and Jesus an alien, which is ridiculous. But he found it, obviously, right? He was in a cave and pulled it out. But within a year, Judas's manuscripts was found in tiny little pieces. And a woman with money bought them from this person, thought he was going to be super rich and a multi-millionaire, never made money off of it, and it all turned to dust. So she put it together, piece by piece, over years and over a couple of years, and created Judas's. He actually finished his. I mean, it was written by somebody, not him directly. None of them actually wrote their own gospel. All right. Because very few people, even when Jesus was alive, his people around him, out of all his disciples, only 2 of them can barely write. So they're not going to be writing books and anything else pertaining to that, or catching every single word Jesus said. So you believe men, and men like to write stories twisted. You heard the phrase, you get 100 people, put them in a room, tell the first person something, and tell them to spread it around a circle. It never comes back right. Not even the same words even. All right. So imagine 2,000 years go by, and you tell the story over how many times? Who's going to tell it right? Or even close to the truth? Who knows the truth? Now, I'm talking about people that never attain spiritual awareness. How do you attain it, people? Not going through ascension because you don't know how to go through ascension. David Wilcock claims he went through it. He was doing a show with Danny Brinkley. I don't know if you know his story. I met him personally, had lunch with him, and he confessed that all this stuff. And David Wilcock goes, well, we both went through ascension. No, you didn't. And then they said we're in our rainbow bodies. No, they're not. People that have following can say a lot of things. The more they say that, people think they're real. And the more you say, it usually pulls you away from the truth. The truth doesn't change, and it's not complicated. The more you add words to it, the more you add story to it, the more less it is reality. Jesus gave a technique, an actual physical technique. It's not in the Bible. But it's what he came here to teach. Not, well, you're forgiven for your sins, blah, blah, blah. No. Love each other. No. No, not at all, people. Sorry to tell you that. Jesus, wherever he walked, everybody came running to him. How would these people turn around and say, okay, kill him? Because when he started talking, they didn't understand what he was talking about. When it related to God, not Father, when it related to God, he didn't use the word God, he had to use the word Father, they didn't understand it. When he said the most important sentence in the whole Bible, he said a lot of important things, but this is the most important. In my Father's mansion, there are many rooms. The limited viewpoint of people is what? The bathroom, the kitchen, the living room, the dining room, the playpen, what? Why do these people even have a clue what that actually means? Nobody. There's not one person out there teaching about it in a Christianity because they have no clue what it means. Now, when he had his disciples doing certain techniques, that's how they learned about ascension. Few of them went through it, didn't live long, but you can't use spiritual energy to change bad energy. This is hell. It's negative energy, people. No matter what the scientists say, what anybody else says. Oh, protons, positive, neutrons, electrons, blah, 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 blah. No, this is a negative reality. All the dimensions within it are negative. I can go into Tesla. He screwed up our reality completely. He brought a technology that shouldn't exist in this reality to it because aliens gave it to him. But you don't hear that either. You want to think Jesus is the most important, he's God, and he's going to save your sorry ass. Why would he do that? What are you doing to understand God right now? Go to church? Did they give you anything about God in church? God loves you. God loves you. Why does God love you? Why would God want to love you? What do you do that makes God want to love you? Save you. Save you from what? Your negative ideas and what you do? Do you do anything positive? People, man creates protection for themselves. They were always afraid of women, always. That's why they always kept them down. If it wasn't for a few people, like Joan of Arc, and they killed her at 21 years old. Men have always been afraid of women. Always. So, would they ever make them their wife as a loving, equal partner? Not then. And today, relationships really can accept each other for what they are. Both equal in God's viewpoint, both equal to attain God awareness, but neither one does or are. And that's sad. 8 billion people. Who do you hear on the internet anywhere, people? Challenge me. I'll challenge them in a second. Like David Wilcock. I just put it on his show today. When you grow a pair of balls and want to debate your lies, please, I will debate you on every lie you're putting out there. And that's all these people do. You go online, type the 5 most spiritual people. You're going to get the Pope, the Dalai Lama, Eckhart Tolle, Deepak Chopra, and even Oprah as the spiritual people. Not one of them directly can talk about a real God. And that should scare you. They have to rely on Jesus, who was a spiritual person, the most spiritual person ever to walk this planet. Yes, he was. He went through ascension. Yes, he did. He had 32 psychic abilities. Yes, he did. But so did Mary Magdalene. All right. So let's move from there. All right. Now, people's awareness is what we use the word, and people want to accept the universal goddess, God, the sun, the moon. We're all one consciousness, we're all part of the universal energy. And then when people use the word Christ consciousness, there is no such word existing, because Jesus was Christ. He knows what he was doing, saying, and acting, and everything else. Nobody else does. You can't use a name to defend or change reality that you don't know. When the Pope hired all these people to do exorcisms and use the Bible, if you watch the original Exorcist, that's a real story. It wasn't a girl, it was a boy. And priest died. Because you can't challenge demons and say Jesus forgives you and or loves you and wants you to leave, whatever, if you don't know Jesus. You can't use the power of somebody if you don't know them. If you don't know God, how in the world do you think you can use his word? God heal them. When a rabbi, New Age, psychic healer or whatever, hit somebody in the head, you healed in the name of God or whatever. Really? Nobody could force God upon anybody. And God wouldn't allow it in the first place. But when Jesus did healing, Jesus never had an ego. Never. When he did whatever he did, was through the idea, not classifying as I'm doing this, just open yourself up. Where's your faith? And he said it to all the people healed. By your own faith, you were healed, not his. He didn't claim to be a superhero, superpowered being. Never did. I mean, he showed it a few times because he did have the power when he rose the dead. But it wasn't like they came out and lived forever because he rose them. He let them come out of the cave and go into heaven with him. Because your soul body doesn't need to stay here. But see, that teaching didn't come out. Mary Magdalene had to teach the rest of the disciples part of that, how to meet with Jesus. Because he was no longer in a physical body. He was in his soul body. We all have a soul. We all are soul. I mean, you could say we're all one. No, we're not. You have a soul, I have a soul. We're not the same. Nothing about your soul is the same as mine or ever will be. Ever. Every soul is moving in its own pace, place, and time. And very few people will ever leave the lower realm, meaning physical and the astral plane. The astral plane is where all souls have to go before they reincarnate or go into a higher realm. And very few souls do that either. I can go into that. I went through it half of my life. I can tell you there's gods, little gods, that are on each one of those realms. The same as Satan's still alive, Lucifer's still alive. A lot of the deities are alive in this astral plane, but 1, 2, 3 of them are different. On the fifth plane, which is the highest soul can attain, there's a deity there. On the astral plane, there's a deity there. Lucifer's there. Satnam and Jehovah, they're all there. There, the second plane, called the astral plane. They're on the top of it, sitting there, making sure fools, idiots, sick people don't go any further than the astral plane. People always trying to become super powerful, super beings. I mean, you watch any superhero movie, there's always somebody that wants power and energy and take it and steal it. What do you think they're doing with CERN? CERN. They're trying to jump into the next realm and different realms and all that. But people, nobody wants the truth, which is incredibly scary because, this world doesn't have much time. We're headed for major destruction every which way. Now, people think Tesla was the greatest person. Einstein wasn't a great person. He wasn't a super smart person. He stole a lot of information from other countries, and he did write in his own notes that he worked with an alien. Tesla worked with aliens in the physical. Einstein worked with them in a psychic level. All right, but where Tesla worked is another critical story which I can't get into. It's way too long. Tesla said, "You're not going to use my stuff wisely," which we can't, and we don't. But he created the most deadliest weapon will ever exist. And you're not going to read about a lot of it because I did research with a person I did UFO work with for 6 years where Tesla worked with DuPont. The most important UFO story happened there. Not Roswell, all right, not all these Area 51, all these other stories you hear. They're not half as important that went down in Wanacue, New Jersey. All right. Now, Project Blue Book, Pegasus, all these other things, working with aliens. Yes, we did, and we have been. But that has nothing to do with helping us now. And the number one thing, which I'm not going to go in detail, but it's the most dangerous thing that's happening on this planet, is alien abduction. I'm not going to get into that. Watch my show Tuesday. But people, where do you want to go with your truth? Do you want to find the total truth? Do you want to find out why you are here? We want to live in dreamland. Oh, I'm here to do this. I got to invent the baseball bat. I got to invent the football. I got to invent a time machine. And guess what? Tesla brought it out. Gave it to the United States. But in 1900, Tesla invented an earthquake machine. He invented 200 inventions, 50 of the most deadliest weapons on the planet that he gave to the United States. And you will see a ship coming out from the United States within a year, the most deadliest weapon on the planet. It'll be a spaceship made by humans, all right, in the United States. And I don't know who they actually work with to do it too, but I'm going to get into that. So I'm getting too far behind to get what I want out there today. Jesus wasn't, I'm going to get back to Jesus, who's probably the most important topic for today and tomorrow. Jesus was not teaching love. He showed it. He showed it to everybody. The people he touched, you could look into his eyes and you could feel it pour over you. Very few souls on this planet had that ability. I met 2 people that I know could do energy like that, for that one aspect. But to see it and feel this like gold light pour over you, to see him walk and see the trails of light way behind him. Nobody's walking this planet like that. Nobody. The Maharishi, Gandhi, Sundar Singh, and all these people claiming all these things. Their energy was never like that. Ever. The Pope has no energy. He's trying to destroy religious teachings and creating a new one. All right. Now, this is a complicated world because you're not allowed to experience the truth. If it was up to man, you would never experience it. And then we got a secondary thing to that, Satan. Satan keeps us here. You know how Satan keeps us here? By giving people what they want, not taking it away from them. Oh, you sold your soul to the devil. Even Bob Dylan, the greatest writer in the music world, did a video on it. And he said, look, I sold my soul to the devil. And the day after I did that, every song he ever wrote became a gold song, whether he did it or he gave it to somebody else. He said, I'm not the only one. So, fame, money, and power do not come from God. Satan will help you get it, people. Satan will help you get that if that's what you feel you want and need, which you will be slowly programmed to accept as what you truly need. Anything but the truth. Money will never help you understand God. Power will never help you understand God. It'll never help you understand people. And you'll never understand who Jesus was. Sins, people, before I don't want to leave that out today. Read Revelation. I don't care if you don't read the Bible ever or didn't. Read Revelations 3 times. If you believe in sin, I should say. John wrote Revelations. Read the part where he talks about what sins cannot be forgiven. What sins cannot be forgiven. You're going to be totally amazed because it goes against everything you believe in. But read it. Read it out of the Bible. I'm not making it up. I read the Bible from cover to cover many times. I was going to become a preacher. I had my time in. I was going to sign a paper. I'm going to say, give me 40% of your salary to the church. I said, no way. I'll give 60 when I can. I'll give 20 when I have to. Oh, no, but you got to sign 40. I said, God never said 40% of anything. And I walked, after almost becoming a preacher, I walked away. All right. I mean, I became a reverend many years later, but I don't have to teach what somebody else is making me teach. All right. You only have 125 years in this lifetime, people. Who cares how long Moses lived because he was a black magician? One of the most powerful ones ever to walk this planet. And I don't want to go into his story. I do it too many times, but not today. All right. When you die, your body dies. Really. You do not. You're a soul. That soul steps out of the body. I know scientists can film that now, measure it when it leaves the body even. But it doesn't go into mass consciousness. It's a soul. And it goes to heaven. What you call heaven, the astral plane. There it goes through whatever karma it had, gets judged not by God, by the gods, the little gods that are there. All right? And then you come back. If you made enough progress in destroying all your karma, you became an aware being, you know about leaving your body, you're allowed to stay on the astral plane. If you attain more than that, and you can go past the gods of that realm, and you have to do certain things to do that, which I cannot say. If you can go into the third realm. And I'm telling you this, every realm, every level, every world you go into from here, after the astral plane, only get 1,000 times better, each one of them. But you lose something. Ego and your sexual identity. All right, I'm not going to go into that in detail, but you're no longer male or female. Picture a light beam. Is it male or female? Turn on the light bulb. That light coming off of it, is it male or female? Oh, well, it has. No. And you are not either. But in this realm, sex is important. The astral plane, it's if and and. But in the third world, it's not. So there's things that, if you want to attain realization, you have to realize you got to let go of a lot of things you're holding on to. And I'll name them: lust, greed, anger, vanity, and attachment. All right. Now, I give them new words: drinking and smoking, drugs, cheap thrills, cheap sex, and false love. All right, which are what keep you here. Well, I have children. I got to come back. I have this. You're not going to come back and help them. You don't have your person when you die. You don't become an angel. You're not superpowered at that time either. You're not the way. Oh, I'm going to protect my family. People want to believe that, and they accept the idea of whatever happens. Oh, my angel protect me. I'm not saying you don't work with angels. You do work with angels, but they are not your father, your brother, your sister, your mother, whoever died. People, I know it's hard to accept. It took me, I'm 71, it took me a whole lifetime to get where I'm at now. But within the past 15 years, I learned the separation of all of it. All the little things you hold on to and work with and think this is going to be it. I'm putting a book out next month. Next month. It's coming out in 2 or 3 weeks. But it's for women only. I have 4 books out there. My first book was How to See God. Anybody wants it, text me. I'll send it to them for free as an ebook. Or When Truth is Called Crazy, my second book. I'll send it to you for free. My book on the true teachings of Jesus, I didn't make it into a book I can send out yet. I don't even have time to do it. I will, because I'm planning on doing part 2 of that and go into detail about Jesus. But people don't want to hear it. You think a Christian is going to go out and read about the real truth about Jesus when they think they know it? You're going to tell me this? No, this said that. People write. People don't write truth down. How many people can write down all the laws of the spiritual reality, the spiritual laws of this realm? And the most important law that everyone should know is the law of non-interference. It sounds simple. You have no right to interfere in anybody else's life unless they ask you into it. And who does that? Well, you're not here to save the planet. You're not here to save all the people on the planet. Jesus took that part on by himself and realized it was impossible. But he did say there'll be many greater than him, which there weren't and aren't. Nobody can stand in his shoes at any level on this planet anywhere or do 1/10 of what he could do. People, you want to believe lies, it's fine. You want to live your life until you die, fine. When you come back, you're going to start all over. No awareness of this lifetime. You're not going to be thinking of your children and your family because you're going to have a whole new karma to deal with. You come back in the karma that you created. And if it's bad, it's going to get worse. And people don't come back better and better and better. Well, I'll be king in the last time. I'm going to come back as a super king this lifetime? No. It depends where your intention were. If you were a king and you were killing people, you're not going to come back better in the next lifetime. Killing is one of the worst things you can do in this reality. Unintentional is different than actual murder or killing. Jesus said you're only responsible for what you do. You're only responsible for what you know. And I mean, if your mother tells you this, you don't know better. You don't know different. But if you become aware of God, know the truth, you cannot do anything bad. What did Jesus say to his people when he healed them, when he worked with them, when they got healed? He said, go out and sin no more. He never said, come back next week and I'll forgive you again. Ever. The Catholic religion twisted everything. They keep him on a cross and want to think of him suffering for them. He did not. He suffered because nobody respected him enough to keep him alive. If people loved him, cared about him, realized who he was, he would be alive today. But they didn't. So when you walk your life and say, I'm a Christian and I believe this and I believe, what do you believe in? What are you doing to become spiritual? Nothing. I go to church. What do you do in church? Pray. Pray about what? Making the world better? You can't make the world better. Our governments are destroying it. Aliens are destroying it. And you're going to make the world better? These people, well, the world's going to be beautiful in the next reality, in the next 10 years. No, it's not. We could have did that 100,000 years ago. and we fall on the dark side. Well, I'm not going to go into my story because I deliberately had to come back in this lifetime because I wanted to. Because I had to work out why, when I was with Jesus, why I would come back again. But, to this day, real simple. How could people love something and kill it? People that have a pet, a goose, a rabbit, 6 years. Well, dinner time, go kill Bonnie. Really? People are so mean, ignorant, evil, no matter what they say they are. I'm going to get into this real fast. Empathic. You know what the word means? Being able to see people's feelings and emotions. It's an ability. It's one of the ones I learned when I was 16. I didn't have it until I was 28. I had it for 2 years. It was the worst 2 years of my life. Why? When you see other people's actual thoughts and feelings, it's scary. Well, how do you know they were yours and not theirs? I mean, theirs, not yours, blah, blah, blah. I said, because every day, once a day, I would challenge one person I see. Even if it was on a street, and I'm walking past a person, a man, and they had this horrible thought, I would say, "Excuse me." They'd look at me and say, "Why would you be thinking of doing it?" And they would just turn yellow. I didn't say another word. How enough? Whatever. I knew it was right. So I never doubted it the whole time. But in that whole time frame, I never saw one person walking in light. And that was scary. But it's no better today. The other thing is you can learn to see a person's aura. And that'll tell you directly where they are. If they're radiating blue and white light around them, you could be assured that they're a lot more aware than most other people are. And it's not hard to see a person's aura, but you do have to look at them in the face. And they have to look at you. Because you got to look inside them. And most people don't like that to happen. Most people don't want you to see who they are. That's why people have two faces. So, is there anything else I want to get to you real fast? No, I just want to tell you, becoming spiritual is the hardest path you can choose in this reality. When you attain spiritual realization, there's no reason to stay here. And that just means God aware. All right? Truly understanding God. It's called God awareness, God consciousness. But not your ego. Ego has no clue what God wants, thinks, and does. Then again, do you have a clue what it looks like? How big it is, how little it is. Where is it really? Not in all of us. People that have God don't go killing people. People don't go killing children, raping children, and all the other words. No, they don't, people. Tomorrow's a horrible day. Based on what happened from Good Friday to tomorrow. Sure, he rose. But people still don't understand what that meant. What he was teaching, and I'll give you the last thought, he was teaching your soul doesn't die. That it is eternal. But he said this, give your life to God, you'll have eternal life. Try and hold on to it, you'll lose it. Remember those words. Till next time, till Tuesday, maybe I'll do another show, but maybe not. Peace, love, compassion, whatever you need in your life. Don't stop until you get it, but don't stop for the lies. Don't settle for anything that's not true. Later.